to get involved in the decisions, and especially to be heard by the politics. That's the main problem I saw. Is that okay for you?
No, it sounds great. I mean, at this point, is if anyone is, for those who are who are here, like, do you have any questions for Souleika about the concept, the idea, anything you'd like to kind of clarify for your own understanding? Looks like Jean has put in nonprofit focused on placemaking in cities, a project for public places. That's in the chat. If you want to take a look at that as well. She also put Parking Day Dallas. So she's putting in some like relevant material that corresponds to what you're talking about, I think.
Definitely. I have a quote to inspire you guys. I found it on a World Bank website. Let me just quickly no, I don't have it. Anyway, I will share it later. Yeah, it's about co-designing and trying to make participate everyone to have their perfect environment in the city. So the co-designing is the main problem.
Got it. Okay, any questions from the group? Any kind of statements or clarifications? Anything you want to know before we jump into things?
Do you have, this is Andy, do you have is it oriented towards travel or movement in the city, or is it about aesthetics and appreciation, or is it just globally everything, every aspect of a city or the planning that takes place?
Yeah, it's really every aspect. The thing is to add the user in the decision. So it's to imagine a format of participation. Maybe it could be digitally or physically, but any decision of the city must be done with the user. But nowadays it's quite difficult to make them participate.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
Sorry. Go.
No, I thought somebody was about to speak. That's why I hesitated before I started up. So, okay. Anything else you want to say, Souleika, before we get into it?
Yeah, just I found the quote. It's from Jane Jacobs, an author. She said, "Cities have the capability of providing something for everybody, only because and only when they are created by everybody."
Okay. Right. So thank you very much for that, Souleika. I think we're set to kind of get into the lightning decision gem a bit. For those that are not familiar with Mural or that need a little bit of guidance, here's the way we're going to work. So what I'm going to do I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in Zoom so you can use that as a composite. You'll be able to see kind of what I'm doing on the back end and how I'm basically maneuvering around in the Zoom in case it gets a little bit chunky with Mural, which it sometimes does. But what we're going to do first is we're going to start with things that are working in terms of cities being inclusive. So when it comes to what Souleika was talking about and how each citizen can be part of a public decision more effectively, and he or she can design a more inclusive city. What are some things in your experience or in your locale or your situation that kind of align with this narrative around more of a public engagement with how cities are designed or how they're kind of run in a way that makes them smart cities? The way to do this is in this section here, and I'll grab everyone to kind of get their focus, is in the things that are working. You want to come down here and with your mouse, double click on any of these gray cards. When you double click on it, a cursor should come up. Go ahead and put something in there that kind of, when you think of things that are working with inclusive cities, you can think of some things that are relative to you. So in Dallas here, off the top of my head, it could be where there is, I've been seeing more open polling by Parks and Rec around future construction. So they, instead of having town halls or get-togethers where people have to physically come in person, they're actually seeding some ideas before they get into the meeting around where things could go, so people feel they have a voice. So that's one particular possibility. Now, I will say there are no right or wrong answers with this. This is just your own perspective, and this is practice for you to understand how to work and engage with Mural. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock. Go ahead and just kind of play with this spot here, or play with this area here, and put in some things that are working when it comes to inclusive cities and smart cities, and what it seems to reflect the public interest. And start from the top and work your way down towards the bottom. So look at any particular open gray card that's closer to the top and do that before kind of moving in a vertical fashion. If you have any questions throughout this entire process, just speak up over your microphone, or you can private message me in chat and I'll look at those every so often if it's not urgent. If you do happen to lose connection to Mural, just go ahead and let me know that your Mural is paused or it doesn't seem to work, and I can troubleshoot on the fly. Okay, about 20 seconds left. If you're still working on a digital card, go ahead and wrap those up. And if all you have to do is hit enter after you're done typing, or you just basically double click on you just click on the white space outside of your card to deselect it. Okay. Right, so now that we've kind of explored some things that seem to be working and that we're aware of, where there's more involvement with the citizenry around their cities and how their culture is designed, we're going to look at the things that aren't going so well. And I put here the original kind of phrasing Souleika, that we put for the challenge. Would you say this is an accurate statement, or should I modify this before we get into it at all? So how to give a citizen the power to co-design their city. Would that be an accurate way of kind of phrasing what we talked about and what you presented?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay. So in that case, when you're looking at this particular challenge and you're thinking of your own experience, in opposite of what you just did with things that are working, I want you to start jotting down the problems. And again, double clicking on one of these cards to start, and then putting in some things that you've experienced or seen, where there's problems, there's challenges, annoyances, mistakes. Anything you want to put in this space will work. There's no right or wrong answer. We'll give another 2 minutes for this. And after that, we'll go into a little bit of diagramming and sort out the cards. Again, start from the top and work your way down towards the bottom. Sandy, in terms of focus, I know you're following me, but in terms of focus, this worked really well in the last LDJ, and I'm just repeating it here for the sake of continuing on the theme. So that people have focus around the challenge, the problem, and so on.
Oh, okay.
That's all. It's just adding these things. We have about 30 seconds left. Does anyone need more time? Okay. If you are working on a card, go ahead and finish it up and deselect. We're going to start moving cards over to the right. So just hang in, and I'm going to take these and bring them down here. Okay. So this is going to be one of two ways we're going to be doing some diagramming of the problems that we had just kind of went into. So I'm going to call everyone's attention over to the right. And what we're going to be doing in this particular stage is we're going to be taking the problems that we had just done and we're going to prioritize them. So, but the first thing we have to do is sort them out. So as you kind of look over the cards, people have put different types of problems that they've cited. What you're going to do is look at the cards and see if you can identify one or two or three that seem to be the same. You're going to take those, and again, I'm just going to kind of drag them over here. Say this one's a decision about politics. Let's say there's another one, and I'm going to just cheat just a little bit for the sake of, whoa, not that many cards. Hang on. Come on, Muriel. Let's duplicate. So if there's another one around politics, breeds too much corruption. So say that there's another card just like that. Then basically you go up to the group name here in gold and then title this as politics, right? So that you're doing basically giving categorization to all these different cards. So go ahead and sort out the cards as you see fit. There is no time limit to this. Just when the cards seem to be sorted by the group, we'll move into the next aspect of this. And really, all you have to do is just grab a card with your mouse cursor or your mouse, click and hold it down and drag it where you want it to go. And Muriel should give you some guides in terms of where it should be placed. Also, you don't have to force cards if they don't seem like they have a home. They can basically be orphaned. If they are, just kind of leave them towards the bottom. All right. Do a little bit of sorting here really fast. Oops. Somebody already did it for me. Okay. The next step is to take a look at the individual cards and see if they're ones that are very, very closely related. Like they're almost mean the same thing, but they're slightly worded. This is just to make sure that when we go into a voting section, a voting segment, we aren't necessarily splitting the votes on two cards that are the same. So the way to do this is basically if there are two cards, you basically shift click on one, then shift click the other. And then in Muriel, and you can see on the Zoom, there's a little color palette that's in the context menu. Just basically pick any particular color to kind of highlight it for people to kind of bring attention to it. So look them over, see if there's anything there. If there's not, then we're good to go. We can get to a little bit of voting. So we got two over here. The decisions are coming from politics. Politics are more powerful. I think in relation to a problem, the one at the top may be worded a bit better than the one at the bottom, where the bottom is still valid. But I'm wondering if the application of the politics one at the top may be more relevant. So does anyone feel strongly about keeping both of them, or are they okay with me kind of eliminating the politics a more powerful one?
Well, I wrote the more powerful politics, but it means that they made the decision. So that's why.
Okay. Do you think it's the same as the decisions are coming from politics?
Yes, the final decision comes from them.
Okay. So are you okay with me kind of eliminating this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, and there's one green here. Is how to scale the opinion of every person, but where's the duplicate for it?
Oh no, it was me. Didn't understand the
Because it was a question.
idea. Sorry. Yeah, I suppose it was like the prioritized part.
Yeah, it's not really. So maybe this can be reframed as a problem where who was the original author of this? How to scale the opinion of every person.
Me.
Not me.
Okay. One particular way that could be reframed is hard to scale the effort across an entire citizenry. Would that also reflect what this is meant to be kind of convey, if this is in this mode, written this way?
And Robert, should we change the title, the group title, like scaling or scale or something like that?
If it's a
Instead
single
of visibility, I put visibility, but now
you could basically do this and bring it down.
List.
It fits into citizen users when it's written like this. But then this particular one up here, excuse me, this would basically be taken out like this.
Yep.
Does that work?
Perfect.
Okay. All right, then now that we got our categories set and the cards underneath, we're going to do a little bit of round of voting. So if you never voted in Mural, it'll be a new experience for you. But the way it works is you'll be looking at the categories, but you won't be voting on them. You'll only be voting on the gray cards. Now we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 24 cards. We have, I believe, let me just double check, make sure I've got everyone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6. I'm going to give everyone 4 votes. And basically, you place those 4 votes anywhere you want. You can vote for more than one, though it's probably better if you spread them out over multiple cards. And I'll start a voting session. And what you're going to be voting for is which problems are the most interesting to explore. So you're going to be looking at the stated problems at face value, wondering if we were to solve that problem, would that be really interesting? Is one way of looking at it. So 4 votes for everybody. Excuse me, go ahead and vote for your top 4 that you have on the board. You're going to want, and as the instructions will say on the mural, you're going to want to click on a card to vote on it. You're going to shift click to remove your vote in case you change your mind, and no one's going to be able to see your cursor. So you're going to basically want to vote on any of the gray cards, but none of the gold categorization cards, just on the gray cards themselves. And if you're looking in Zoom, you can see what I see, where it shows people who are voting and how many votes there are. I will say that None of Spurred wasted no time and went right after voting, and is probably going to finish in front of everyone else. No, the pig was first. So there you go. And I am going to abstain from voting as your facilitator and kind of wait until everyone finds where they would like to select their cards. I think Sandy's also not voting too. So it's down to Daniel and a panda. That last vote, where does it go? Daniel's chosen. Pan is still thinking. And for reference, usually if there's someone who's at 4 votes that was voting before but not voting now, I'll discount it to either a connection loss or somebody stepped away from their desk, inadvertently, and there was no notion. But if there is any problems with there could be also problems with the interface. So if that situation occurs, usually we'll give a time limit to the votes, but we'll try to see if we can remedy it when it comes up. So anyway, ending the voting session. Souleika, there you go, cool. And let's see where everyone kind of landed. So it looks like we had one that had 4 unique votes as well as 4 regular votes, which is it's too difficult to stay up to speed on what is being considered, designed, and planned. And then we're a ton of 3 votes and 3 voters, which is users don't know how to contribute. Citizens are usually the last to know. Planning happens in silos and in different layers, and transportation is still centered around cars. So we're going to move ahead with the one that kind of edged out with 4 votes and 4 unique voters. And we're going to bring that down to our next section, which is going to be, excuse me, I'll zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to go down to the lower left of the mural, and I'll summon everybody there once we get there. In a minute. Whoa. I was just talking about mural going a little crazy. I have to reset my mural. All of a sudden the toolbar just kind of went over to the left and I lost focus. So coming right back.
I believe, Robert, mural don't work very well if you are in the space, out in the space.
Oh, you're saying it's a connection issue. Well, you could be right.
It was a sunspot.
Yeah, that you're
Flare.
So I think I may have to change my location. Give me 1 second after I put the top problem up here. Okay. So yes, if this is not working clearly, I have to change my location. So give me 1 second. I think I'm going to switch from outer space. I'm going to land in Tatooine and be out here with the Jedis and how they're so lonely and practice my saber skills. Let's do that. Okay, so let me grab everyone's attention over to where I am. So we worked out that we already know what the challenge is, which is how to give a citizen the power to co-design their city. And the top problem that we landed on was too difficult to stay up to speed on what is being considered, designed, or planned. Now, when you take in the problem in the context of the challenge, we're going to do something called how might we. I'm going to explain this briefly. So normally when you're presented with a problem, our inherent nature is to think of solutions right away. This process kind of shortcuts that and has you think instead about possibilities. So basically, a how might we is a statement that you make to explore where this could potentially go. So I'll give an example. Since our top problem is too difficult to stay up to speed and our challenge is here, I'm going to minimize this a little bit or just take the border off. So if the top problem is too difficult to stay up to speed on what is being considered, designed, or planned, one of the how might we's, and I'll spell it out so that you can see what it looks like all together, is how might we, I'll zoom in a little bit further, how might we communicate upcoming design projects that would benefit from citizen inquiry, right? That's one possibility. Another how might we could be, how might we, if it's too difficult to stay up to speed on what is being considered, how might we personalize particular city projects for particular citizens? And this is just me kind of riffing on it, but this is basically what it is that you're speculating on where it could go, but you're not necessarily jumping to a conclusion right away. And it basically puts everything in terms of a question. So go ahead and give this a shot. It's going to seem a little foreign at first, but just kind of work through it and see what makes sense to you. I'll give you about 2 minutes for this one. If you do need more time, just go ahead and speak up and I'll add that to the clock. And I'm getting to check because I just saw somebody message me. Okay. And again, I will emphasize there are no right or wrong answers with this. This is just us as a group collectively exploring the possibilities with this particular problem and where it could go. We have about 1 minute left. If you'd like more time, just go ahead and say so. Okay, time's up. If you are, if your name is Daniel and you're typing on a digital card, please finish your card. And I only know it's you because I could see the little, yeah, I could see the little icon right there. Okay. So we're going to do a different type of affinity assortment with this one. I'm going to go ahead and wipe out some how might we cards that are blanks. This should be fairly simple since we're working with a smaller data set. So of all the how might we's we have here, we did an exercise before where we did some vertical arranging of the cards under categories, but this time we're going to do affinity clustering. And the way this works is, and I'll call everyone over so you're seeing what I'm seeing, is you're going to take cards and just kind of put them in piles if they make sense to kind of be next to one another. Just kind of go there and kind of connect them like this on the corners, so that you kind of know that they're in the same space. And when we get to a point where we have like maybe 2 or 3 in the same space, then we're going to go ahead and put one of these grouped cards down here, and I'll drag them up for people to use. And you just kind of do the same thing. You just kind of put them so they're connected with this, and you give it some sort of categorization name to identify with it. And we're using both of these techniques just to give variety to this exercise, but to show people different ways of organizing information. So I'll put some group cards up there. Go ahead and organize these 2 cards that we have. And I'll go ahead and bring the group cards into the focus so that you can grab them at will and just put them into the groups that make sense. One second, I'll be right back. And I'm back. And it's okay if there's only 2 in one group. You could still give them a category. Once you've identified 2 of them, go ahead and drag the category cards right to those sections and go ahead and use those. And I'll move these 4 up so that you have more to use. If ever you want to duplicate a card, Sandy has a really interesting shortcut that she found out where you just select a card and hit Control-D on your keyboard, and it will automatically duplicate the card and move it right next to where you were.
Wait, what?
So if you select a group name card or any particular digital card, on your keyboard, once you have it selected, you hit the combination for Mac anyway, it's Control D, and that it'll duplicate the card right to the right of what you had just selected. You can do
Okay.
this
Command,
for multiple
Command D
cards
for
or
Mac.
sections.
Right.
I'm not sure what it could be for a PC, but it's probably close.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to put some group names here. And again, if something doesn't fit in terms of it could be an orphan of something that doesn't belong to a group, then you can just leave it be. All right. As opposed to the last way we did it, where it was vertical and it was affinity diagramming versus affinity clustering, if you could, go ahead and put in the chat in Zoom what you prefer, whether it's, you could basically just put a diagramming or clustering, and then I can get a good idea of what people kind of skew towards. So I have clustering from Daniel. If you want to, you can also open up your microphone and basically say it as well, if it's easier than typing. Mateos is clustering.
Clustering also.
That is diagramming. Okay. Interesting. So it's split. Okay, but clustering kind of edges out a little bit with Souleika. So, okay. So it's kind of good that we kind of introduce both just so that people get a flavor for each. Okay, so again, like last time, go ahead and look for duplicates, anything that seems to be the same, and that we should probably highlight just to kind of scrutinize them a bit and make sure we're not kind of putting two of something in the same space. Excuse me. But if it looks like we're good, then we can get to voting and see which how might we's are the most compelling to move forward with, to kind of ideate against. Okay, so let's see, we have 5, 10, 15. 15 cards with about 5 people. I'm going to give everyone 3 votes. So your top 3 that you see here, and what you're going to be voting on is which how might we's are the most compelling and interesting to ideate with, meaning that you would want to take this particular how might we statement and start doing some solutioning for it, like actually answering the question that it has. So everyone gets 3 votes. Vote your top 3. Again, shift click or click on a card to vote on it, shift click to remove it, and no one's going to see your cursor. When everyone is done voting, we will go ahead and close the voting session and see what came out on top. I'm going to assume the anonymous panda is not with us at the moment. Anonymous panda, are you there? You are. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. Didn't want to cut you short. All right, looks like everyone's voted. Gonna go ahead and close the voting session, see what came out of this. So we have one that had 6 votes as well as 5 unique votes, which is how might we inform users as they move through the city? one that was a distant second was how might we let a citizen experience the change before it happens? I think we have a clear kind of front runner for this. So let's not waste any time. We'll grab this card, give it a border, and I'm going to zoom out really fast. From where I am on Tatooine, I think I have a better connection than before. Okay. So I'll summon everyone to my view here. So to recap, we have the challenge of how to give a citizen the power to co-design their city. The problem that we identified was it's too difficult to stay up to speed on what is being considered planned, designed, or planned. The how might we, in terms of a speculative statement or where we could go, was how might we inform users as they move through a particular city? If we can finish the thought here, maybe we can leave it open-ended. So, but remember that the ideas that you're going to be coming up with have to align with this in terms of getting a citizen the power to co-design their city, so we don't go too far off track with this next one. But this is the way that the team has kind of been moving in this direction, is that we're informing it looks like we're informing users as they're going through a particular area about something they should know about in relation to designing their city or making it a smart city. At least that's what I'm interpreting from the notes so far. So for this particular section for ideation is that you're going to ideate without discussion, meaning that you're going to put as many ideas that come into your head that would answer this particular question. And the way to do this is you want to think quantity over quality. You want to put in some answers that come top of mind as you're thinking about it or you have been. You want to get into some practical solutions. You want to get into some crazy solutions. You want to also go very bold, very daring, maybe even something you don't even think is possible. But what you want to do is just saturate the space with as many solutions that come into your head that would answer this particular how might we. Remember, quantity over quality. There's no judgment here, no right answer. But what we are looking for are things that seem like could be amazing solutions to this, but you're not quite sure how to do them. Put them in this section. We're going to give everyone 3 minutes for this so that we can really churn out some ideas. And then we'll go ahead and do the same kind of diagram that we did before. If you need more time thinking of ideas, go for it. Just let me know before I end the session or end the time, and I'll just add more time if you need it.
I have a question. So the how might we is about when you move through the city, if there's something, a new project that is going to be designed, the citizen gets a notification or something?
Don't know. Well, I guess I would turn it back around and say, what would you expect?
That's what I understand.
Okay. Yeah, then I would put that down. And for the person that actually created it, if you want to give more context, you can do so.
Yeah, I threw that one out there. It probably should be worded more so around, and maybe we should remove inform and collect feedback would probably be better. Collecting feedback as they move through the city.
Oh,
okay.
So collect feedback from users. But originally there was informing users as well. So maybe it can be both. So that it stays with the original one. So collect feedback and inform from and inform users. Okay. Sorry, Andy, I should have clarified it before we got into it. We have about 30 seconds. And again, if you're stopping and you take about 5 or 6 seconds to actually type, that means you're spending too long thinking about whatever you're thinking about. Just get it out of your head, even if it seems strange. Because if nothing else, it's comedy relief. At the same time, that could be inspiring for other people. I'll give 1 more minute, actually, see where we come with things, and then we'll kind of do a little bit of diagramming. Got about 10 seconds left. If you're typing on something, go ahead and finish it up and click somewhere else. Okay. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe out some of the solution cards that were not used. Based on what I had heard last time, clustering beat out diagramming a little bit more, so we're going to continue with that mode of things. Go ahead and take all the cards you just basically worked on and start clustering them into logical piles. And then when you feel like you've got a pile all together, I'm going to go put the affinity diagramming cards back up so you can go ahead and put them into particular groups. Okay, so if I'm looking at this correctly, there's a whole bunch of clustering going on around AR, VR. If this is the same place, we'll just put it up towards the top so that I know it's in that group. There's 4 over here, and I'm wondering if they have any association with one another. We have ludic over here on this side, and client initiatives in the center. Okay. And while Souleika's finishing up and kind of putting a category in one of them, why don't you go ahead and see if and scrutinize the card, see if there's any duplicates in the area of duplication, and see if there's a couple of them that we need to kind of scrutinize a bit. And pardon me, I'm going to walk on Bikini Bomb for a second and take care of my nose. Okay. Looks like no one's found any particular duplicates, so let's get into this a bit. We'll go ahead and vote 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 25. I think let's go with 6 votes. 6 votes each. So we have enough to kind of cover everything. But you want to vote on the ideas that you think would be really interesting to do a design sprint for. That's probably where you want to go with this. So if you looked at any of these ideas and wanted to put them through their paces to really explore them, which ones really appeal to you? So I'll gather everyone so that you're kind of looking in the same space. Again, only vote on the gray cards, not on the gold ones. And we'll get a voting session started. Which ideas would you like to take forward into a virtual design sprint? Is the question that you are asking yourself. So 6 votes. Go ahead and select particular ones with your mouse cursor. Shift click if you want to take the vote off, and we won't be able to see your cursor to see where you're voting. But go ahead and vote on the ones that you really appeal to you. And then we'll wait till everyone gets their votes done, and we'll go to the next process. I don't know who Bird is, but they are quick. They know what they're voting on. Not that it's bad or good, just saying, as soon as I just check to see what people are voting, it's like Bird has 1 vote left. It's like, whew, they just fly. Same with the pig. Pig and the bird are fast.
I was a fast cow in the previous LDJ, so I'm a fast pig right now. I believe in reincarnation.
Okay, there you go.
So, are you SpongeBob or Robert or live near?
I'm feeling underwater today, so this is perfect.
It's great. You have better connection there.
Yeah. I can use the transatlantic cable and just kind of pipe in right there, and then I'm good. All right, Panda, where are you? Are you kind of looking over all the stuff before you vote? I think you are. You voted last time. Panda is actually the name of my Shih Tzu, my small little dog. So when I see that, I think, all right, Panda over there, Panda in here. Okay, Anonymous Panda, you're on the clock. You have approximately 30 seconds to put in a vote. Otherwise, I will assume that your connection is bad or you need to refresh your browser. Oh, never mind. Zip it up. Panda's voting. It's a speculative digital animal. Wants to make sure it's putting on the right votes and considering all the different cards.
Pandas are the great thinkers of the animal kingdom.
There you go. That's perfect. All right. Let's check and see what everyone thought would be really interesting to do for a sprint. We have 3 that are at the top here. We have create co-designing bubbles in the streets, geofence platform that shows facts, challenges, local comm groups, and upcoming projects, contact info as you move through the city, and the possibility for a regular user to mark some place in the city on a map with an initiative or idea how to resolve it. Very interesting. So we got 3 with 4 votes that we're going to move into the next process. Thank you everyone for voting. Give me 1 second. I'm going to kind of move these down here and let's see here. Okay. And you already know what I'm about to do, so that's why you're down here with me. Okay, so I'm going to bring everyone's attention down to where I am. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to use something called, basically we're going to put on a potential matrix or a potential axis. So what we're going to do is we're going to consider each of these particular ideas, and we're going to look at it from the spectrum of potential. So I'm going to enlarge just a little bit because there's a lot of stuff here. And we're going to go into what this is. So geofence platform that shows facts, challenges, etc. And what you want to do is consider where this falls in terms of its potential. If you personally think that the potential for this one is high, then you're probably going to want to put your mouse cursor and move it just like this. So you can see my arrow kind of moving in a circle around the line. So if I think that something has high potential for this one, I'm going to put my mouse cursor right just like this and circle it. If I think geofence platform is not much potential, I'm going to go over here on the low spectrum and put it somewhere on this line to the left, okay? So everyone's going to be part of this. You just basically put your mouse cursor on this line where you think it should go. So for the geofence platform that shows facts, challenges, local comm groups, etc., where on this spectrum do you think that this particular idea should fall? We got a couple of here, medium potential. We got one that the goat thinks is pretty good. Jeff and Bird thinks it's right about there. So I think this thing should live, oops, it should live right around here. Seems to be a good middle. I'm going to bring this down so it isn't as large. Probably bring it back to its original size. There we go. Put it right there. Next, we have possibility for a regular user to mark some place in the city or on a map with an idea or initiative or idea and how to resolve it. Now, in terms of this, where does it sit in terms of this particular card? Is it have more potential or less potential? And it looks like a lot of people over here on the right saying it should be there. So we'll go ahead and bring this down to a default size and put it right around there. It seems to be right around the average where everything is. And then finally, create co-designing bubbles in the streets. For this potential, do you think this has less or more potential than these 2 cards that we put down here on the potential scale? So people are kind of going in the middle here. There's about 3. There's Souleika's over here on the right. There's 2 on the left. So it kind of feels like the average is somewhere around here, I would say, between these 3. So we got possibility for regular user to mark some space as the front runner. And we're going to mark that as, oh, I'll mark it as blue. Give it a blue color. And then the geofence, the create co-design bubbles in the streets probably would be a gold color, and we're going to keep this one gray. So I'm going to take these 3, and we're going to go to our final process, which is going to be up here. And give me 1 second while I do a little bit of maneuvering. Okay. So this is going to be our final process. This is taking something through, and you're going to be probably, this may seem familiar to you for those who do design sprints. But what you're seeing here is an Eisenhower Matrix, and its original intent was back in World War II, where Dwight D. Eisenhower used this to prioritize things by effort and impact. Only this time, we're going to be using it for interest and impact. So we're just replacing one of them. So the way this works is that you have to look at the scale first. So interest is going to be the x-axis. And this is measuring your personal interest, whether you have a high personal interest or a low personal interest in the solution we just voted on. Same with impact. We just kind of did potential. It's kind of similar, but now if you think of impact, for the solutions we looked at, does it have really high impact or low impact? Over here on the right, you'll see a bunch of dots. And what you're going to want to do is put your name in each of these dots. So I'm going to put Robert in this first one, Robert in the second one, and then put Roberto for a little bit of Spanish flair on the last one. Look back up here to the reference material, and you're going to look at the whole entire picture. So we went from the challenge to give a citizen the power to co-design their city, identified the problem, went into what the how might we could be or where we can go, collecting feedback from and informing users as they move through the city. We ended up with 3 solutions. Now, the way this works is you're going to look at the blue one, say possibly for a regular user to mark some space in the city or map with an initiative or idea on how to resolve it. And I'm going to take my dot, I'm going to put it in the center here. And I'm going to think about interest, like what's my interest in this? In terms of like, if I were to do a design sprint in this, would I be kind of enthused by it, or would I kind of be like, nah, not really me? So for this one, I'll say, yeah, it's not too bad. I think it's good. And in terms of impact, I think if you have the right tech, yeah, I could pretty much do it. So I'm kind of in the let's do it column. And this is just for example, I'm not evaluating it. So I'm going to take the gold one, and I'm going to say create co-design bubbles in the streets. I don't have an interest in this. It's not really me. I really don't know what it means. And then for impact, in relation to other things I think could be done, it's not really here. So I put it here. Again, not really much. But you're going to kind of do this for each of the solutions and basically put your dots where you think they should go. Now, again, you don't have to necessarily put everything in this space if you don't feel like it. This is just to gauge both interest and impact from your personal point of view. So go ahead and do this. Take your dots, put your names on dots, and then go ahead and put in this axis where your interest is and what kind of impact you think each of these 3 solutions would have. And they're color coordinated. So the blue one goes for the blue solution, the gold one goes for the gold solution, and then the gray one goes for the gray solution. And just kind of put where you think they would fit for both your interest and how much impact you think it would have if we were to do a design sprint for it. And by the way, it is perfectly acceptable, like I said, to put it in any one of these 4 quadrants. Totally fine. We're just seeing what the sentiment is of the group before we end our session today.
Sorry, Daniel, I stole a dot.
It's fine.
And I'll wait till everyone clears out all of their names before I go into just a brief analysis of it. Okay, so it looks like if you kind of look at things from different perspectives, I like to look into the extreme. So how many dots kind of go in here versus where they're elsewhere? So if you look at like the majority of the dots here, it looks like blue's a little bit of a leader in this space. So that it kind of vets out in terms of our votes as well as where we placed them in terms of both important interest and impact. And then second, it looks like gold and silver are kind of in the same space. I would argue that silver's got a little bit more impact and maybe arguably some more, a little bit more of well, I would say it looks like people think it has more impact, but the gold one seems like it has a little bit more interest in it. So it's a nice little balance there, but definitely blue seems to saturate the space a bit. And it's good because then at least all 3 have possibilities. If teams want to go ahead and adopt this in some fashion for a design sprint, they'll have this data to go by in terms of what people had kind of said about it. Conversely, when people in this group go back to their teams and you are basically having a group conversation on which challenge to go in, you're going to have firsthand experience of this problem based on the LDJ you just did, so that it's not just looking at it from face value and look at the data. You can really tell the story around how people voted, what they voted on, what you felt about it. So this was the purpose of kind of going through this process, is not only to get familiar with the idea and the concept, but what the potential is and where it could go. So we only have 1 minute. I'm sorry if we're running right to the hour, but I'm wondering for anyone that's on the call, what are your impressions of this process? Do you have any suggestions that you'd like to give briefly about how we can improve upon it? Anything at all?
I was just curious if someone could explain the bubbles, the co-designing bubbles in the streets. I don't know if anyone wants to articulate that, otherwise disregard.
Who was the person that did the bubbles?
I did. it's you know, a bubble, transparent bubble with that can be implemented in the street, and where people can come and participate on a subject.
So
Yeah.
it's like a little workshop space.
Yeah, it's open workshop in the streets, and everyone can come and participate and contribute.
If there's time at the end of the session, do you think it would be beneficial if for the three vote that before we went to kind of circular dot voting on those, to have each person kind of explain the nature of the concept or the idea that they had, so that people have the proper proper context? Would that help?
Yeah, I think it might help, but it might be one of those scenarios where the facilitator sort of describes it and then asks the team if they got it right.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I could do that, and then just leave it open-ended. If nobody says anything, then
yeah,
okay. That makes sense. Thanks, Randy. Okay, like I had said, we're at the top of the hour, so before you leave, don't go anywhere. As is customary with doing these LDJs, I always like to get a group shot of everyone. And I know some of you have done this several times, but this is a way of codifying that we were all together in the same space working on this. So what I'd like you to do is grab something of a personal nature that's right next to you. I'll go ahead and do Bowser again, but I got to take my virtual environment off because it's going to block it out every time. Let's see here. There we go. I'm back on planet Earth. All right. There you go. Keychains. I'm just going to go Bowser. He's always good to put in there. There you go. Put him even closer. Right. Are you ready, everyone? 1, 2, 3. Right. Hey, you got a switch at work? Seriously, Daniel? All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. Hopefully, it was really beneficial for you. If you do have any feedback, just put it in Slack. Let me know later on in email, whatever you'd like. But again, appreciate your time taking time out for this, and hopefully it was good use of yours.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you,
Thanks,
folks.
Robert.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Y'all have a good
Thanks,
weekend.
Hey, everybody.
Cheers.
All right, bye-bye. Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
You too.